Hello, Uta here again. Um, I've been posting this in comments in a few places, and what I see as a need now that we have the executive order refusing federal funds to hospitals which are doing these surgeries and giving wrong sex hormones to underage patients is that some of the hospitals, according to Sapir, who is a researcher on this, I linked his interview with Emily on the Undercurrents YouTube channel, which is, I think, a part of Unheard commentary blog. And Mr. Sapir said that some hospitals have, in fact, decided that they have to prioritize the other, 95% of their operation and shut down the, damaging procedures that they have been doing on kids who are confused. And the thing that I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing suggestions for how to help a child. And yes, there are quite a few therapists and psychologists and so on who are saying we have to find out and do exploratory therapy to see if this kid is having body dissociation as a result of childhood trauma, a grief experience such as the death of some female relative, or sexual abuse, where, like Chloe Cole, the detransitioner, and many, many detransitioners who say they had some kind of childhood experience being exploited sexually, and that made them want to not be their sex. And this can happen with both boys and girls, and it's quite predictable. We know about body dissociation that is a result of trauma. So, and then there was a British therapist. I'll tell you if I can think of his name at the Withers, Bob Withers, yes. And he mentioned that it's nerve-wracking for the therapist to try to unpick and unspool someone's childhood trauma experiences because they kind of relive it. And then in certain places where this thing called conversion therapy is outlawed, which is, that's all a misnomer. That was aversion, physical damage type program that was to turn people straight when they were actually gay, and that has been totally debunked as a completely unworkable technique or strategy. And so there we are, left with that therapists are actually afraid of being accused of this. And when they get accused of this in certain places, then those people who are brainwashed and indoctrinated go through the certification agencies and decertify a therapist or a doctor. And so this is, the kind of rock and hard place that the practitioners are between. And I'm a retired kindergarten teacher, so I'm not in that rock and hard place, I can say. And so, oh yes, I wanted to just show you, I've decided, on my blog that's at Substack, utahagen.substack.com, I'm always going to illustrate whatever I'm writing, even though it's not related to my motherhood or my children. I'm always going to use pictures of mothers from my family. And in fact, here is me on a Mother's Day with my two sons. And that was shortly after their father, did the procedures in 1996. And so, we were having a pretty good time together. So anyway, yes. Uh, um, so I always just want to bring in something that grounds us. And I always say you've got to have a plan to bring yourself back to center after discussing all of these upsetting events and practices, beliefs, and cult indoctrination. Okay, so I've got 5 questions that I, as a teacher, if I was teaching like an 11-year-old, which when I was doing math, I did math remediation for kids who were behind from first to fifth grade. And so I could have an 11-year-old say something to me who was in fifth grade. And my reply would be when they start this waterfall of telling how they have diagnosed themselves as trans or not the sex that their body is. This is the first question I would ask. And I am putting this out there so that psychologists can start thinking of what they're going to do instead and be logical and say, well, this is what you would do instead of this so-called, in quotes, affirmation stuff, where you put a child on a dangerous, unhealthy path. So number 1, do you want a healthy body? What is that? Because I think that kids are, kind of stuck in this spiral of their feelings when they feel bad. And when they feel emotionally bad, their whole body feels bad. And I've seen kids absolutely collapse and fall apart. And I think that to affirm that a child wants to have a healthy body and a long life would be the first position to establish. Number 2, do you want a clear and uncluttered mind? And what is that? And I think that certainly with like an 11-year-old child, you could explain that when you're in an emotional state and you're disappointed about something or you're angry about something and you're very upset or you didn't get enough sleep or maybe you're hungry, you do not have a clear and uncluttered mind. Moving on to question 3. Do you want a mind-body connection between your clear and uncluttered mind and your healthy body? And of course you do. And so bringing up this mind-body connection and helping guide a child to mind-body connection instead of further into dissociation would be, of course, the healthy mental health goal. Okay, number 4. Do you want to focus in your life on being helpful to others? And the opposite thing to do would be to just ruminate a lot about yourself and whether you're getting what you want. And, in school, children have to learn that they don't get the special job on a certain day. They're weak to get the special job collecting the notebooks or passing out the writing utensils or doing something, which I had, 20 jobs. that, you have to face disappointments. And one of the ways to get yourself recentered after you've had some disappointment for yourself personally is to think about how you could just get over it and help others. How can you help others? And I always used to say in the classroom, you're helping Miss Uta and you're helping the whole class if you can sit and listen. And I promise I will keep it interesting. I really had good control over my classes. Number 5, do you know how to focus on what you can actually do, what aspiration you can fulfill, as opposed to some aspirations or desires that you have that are out of your scope. So there you bring in the two categories in life. Sort of like that prayer my mother had by the kitchen sink that she would look at when we were bickering over, whether everybody had done their, work while we washed the dishes. I actually remember when we got the dishwasher, I think I was 11 or 12 years old when we got a dishwasher, and sort of feeling like this. We used to sing rounds and joke around and stuff. And I remember, being the one who, as a young child, my job was drying the silverware because if I dropped that, it wasn't going to break. So anyway, this question number 5 is developing that category, the two distinct categories of what can you aspire to, which is realistic, which is within your scope, and can you recognize, do you have the skills emotionally and cognitively to recognize when having this aspiration is not practical and not achievable, at least now. And, I would go so far as to say to any kid who's coming to me for advice that changing sex is not achievable. And, we don't have to do the behaviors that are the so-called gender stereotype. I'm sure that if I had had brothers, I had 4 sisters, if I had had brothers, they would have been drying the dishes too. I do think so. And I think I was lucky coming from a family of all girls, except for my dad, of course, because I wasn't comparing myself to a male sibling and seeing that he could do, something more excellently than me, or that my father had a closer relationship with him or something. And in that respect, I feel that I was the one with the closest relationship with my father because I helped him with the gardening, and I liked to hang out with him when he was straightening up all the tools in his garage. And being an engineer and a tinkerer, he had a lot of tools and a lot of cool little drawers and cabinets that he kept all the tools in. So I would just get myself a stool and hang out there, and he would tell me some story from his childhood. And that's what we need. We need to get the kids out of the phones. I mean, that's a rule from the wellness checklist. Off of your phone in the nighttime when the phone is getting charged. It is under mom and dad's bed, plugged in with the computers and anything with a screen, because nighttime is for sleep, and that is rule number 1. Rule number 2 is good food. Yeah. Okay. Experiment with telling people about the 5 questions, and please do. For example, too, Dr. Amaya Robert Edward Deakins, tag him with those 5 questions on X. Thanks.